So this meeting is being recorded. My name is Margo de Lange. I'm here on behalf of its Greater Coalition, and it's been a pleasure already preparing this meeting together with Mike and the team of ENOS. So I'm really excited and really looking forward to hear all of the contributions here today. I'm sure you're all very experienced in the meantime with these digital meetings, but we just want to remind you to keep your microphones muted unless you're speaking, and of course use the chat function. If you have any questions, we'll pick them up there, or of course you can also raise your hand and speak yourself if we have any Q&A moments. We have some great examples lined up for you today and contributions from participants, activity providers, as well as the wider industry. And here to kick it all off is Flor Van Houdt, head of the sport unit of the European Commission. So welcome, Flor, and thank you very much for opening our event today.
Thank you, Margot, and thank you for inviting me to join your event. And I look with envy at the picture behind you. It reminds us of the holidays, which have been only a dream for so long. And let's hope that we can look forward to a good future and a nice summer where we can be outdoor again, and we can also bring everybody along with us, which is, I understand, also something you want to look at more in detail today at your seminar. And what I will do is to give you a bit the picture, the background on what the European Commission does, what the EU policy is on sport, and I will thereby, of course, emphasize the special efforts we do to make all our sports activities inclusive. So first of all, sport policy at the European level is based on what we call Article 165 of the treaty, which is in a chapter about cooperation rather than lawmaking. So at European level, when you think of sport policy, we are not in charge of creating directives or imposing legislation, but what we do is bring a European dimension in sport in two ways. First of all, to dialogue and cooperation with stakeholders and member states. And the other contribution we give is to the programs that we support, concrete projects and partnerships. And the main program under which our funding is put is the Erasmus Plus program, which is widely known for the mobility of students, but it's so much more. And one of the pluses of the program is the sport actions and the sport cooperation. So we also, and for the program was adopted only last month, but with a budget that is nearly twice as big as it was in the past 7 years, which means that that we can look forward with ambition to even further our impact on what we do. But perhaps I'll take you back to now to the framework for our cooperation, and then how this actually works out in practice. So the political framework for European sport policy is set by the Council based on the EU work plan for sport. And that has two main action lines. On the one hand, this is about the socio-economic development of sport, and on the other hand, of the international cooperation and sport governance. But maybe this is the more interesting element for today, is the social and economic developments, because we do look into the economic importance of sport. Sport is a considerable source of income for many Europeans. I recently saw it marks number 30, every 37th employee in Europe is active in sport, so this is considerable. But perhaps what is also more important, there are many people involved in sport as members in clubs, as volunteers, and it's an important source of leisure for so many people, but also a way to educate, to empower, to involve young people in social activities, for instance. So, and we try to capture all those dimensions in our dialogue. And what it of course means that we cannot talk about all these topics at the same time at all times. So in the work plan, we pick up certain priorities, then we work on them, and then we move back to the next topic. So this is how it works. And at the moment, the emphasis is very much on the recovery from the pandemic. I mean, this is simply not a chosen priority, but it's there, and it's an important concern, and it has a lot of implications both for the daily life of many who practice sport, which hasn't been possible, but also importantly to those who are active on the markets, who have also seen the effects of sport being completely come to a standstill. At the same time, we also look into the recovery as an opportunity to look into new opportunities. How can we make sport greener and more digital? And at the moment, our emphasis on the social part is mainly on gender equality. So we have an expert group that will come with conclusions at the end of this year. But more importantly also is we have the funding, and as I said, we're very happy that we have almost a doubling of budget, and for the next 7 years we have 470 million euro available to support projects and partnerships in the field of sport cooperation. And there it is important to be aware that the Erasmus Plus program has 3 horizontal priorities, which are greening, making the program more digital, but also making it truly inclusive. And inclusion has always been part of the Erasmus Plus program, but in this new generation of programs, its attention has been considerably raised. It's been upgraded to a horizontal priority. And the new program includes also more concrete measures that make sure that it's not only a word, but it can also be realized in practice, ranging from additional support measures to greater reporting, so we know that we can actually deliver and improve our performance when it comes to inclusion. So this is probably important to be aware for the discussions you have also here and now, that if you will discuss later on projects and plans, and in your discussion you come with new ideas as to how you could foster inclusion, think about the Erasmus Plus program, because there are plenty of opportunities to apply for partnerships in this area. And I don't know now if it's a good or bad message, but the call for this year is still open. Only it closes this week. So there is still an opportunity to apply for funding under the programs. But I have to admit at the same time that you have 1 or 2 days left is not a lot to start thinking about a project if you would only initiate it now. If not, of course, the calls are annual, and this will continue, and inclusion will be a priority for the coming 7 years. It's embedded into the legal base itself, so it will stay there for sure. And when it comes to a new policy initiative that I think is important to mention, on which we will try to cooperate with our stakeholders, is also as a result of the recovery, we want to emphasize further the importance of healthy lifestyles. And healthy lifestyles is about sport, but of course it's more than sport. It's about healthy food, being able to move around wherever you are. So urban policies, accessibility to space where you can go out and practice. And this new healthy lifestyle campaign will be launched in September by Commissioner Gabriel. And she will come with a number of commitments that she will want to work on. but she also invited stakeholders to join her in this initiative, so that those who are interested in making pledges to work on healthy lifestyles, they can join the coalition, join the group, and this will be recognized as on the website as the partners who are in the pledges. And this Healthy Lifestyle for All initiative has a very strong inclusion focus as well. So of course it's for the entire population, but it recognizes that the opportunities or the access to healthy lifestyle are unequally divided. For some, it's far more simple to get around, to have access to opportunity, to have access to space, and others, they're facing barriers that need to be overcome, and this will also be part of this initiative. So if that sounds interesting to you, I would invite you to stay tuned, and on the 23rd of September, she will unveil the initiative. But if you want to already know more about it, or if you're interested to join this as an organization, you can already get in touch with us beforehand, and we're willing to work with you on that. Then last but not least, let me perhaps mention also another token of how we want to recognize the importance of inclusion in sport policy is we have an annual award, which is called Be Inclusive, where we call out for projects to that show an important story that actually give meaning and put concrete faces to what differences can be made if one is truly inclusive, in the sense of tearing down barriers that people are confronted with, or inspirational role models or initiatives that can inspire also others. So we give them a prize, and at the same time we also promote these stories to inspire others and to give them ideas on how to make inclusive, how to move from aspiration to reality and concrete results. So that is in a nutshell the type of activities that we do. But let me just underline that we care a lot about inclusion. It's at the heart of what we do, and there's a lot of activities and opportunities to work together also with you as stakeholders to realize progress in this field. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Flo. We have a question that Mike has put for you. He'd like to know whether or not the focus on healthy lifestyles will be wrapped up within the parallel focuses of digital inclusion and green, or whether separate funding opportunities are available for healthy lifestyles, or is the focus on on policy development?
The initiative, I mean, we are still preparing it, and so we will come forward with more details in September, and the commissioner will come with a number of pledges, and of course the program, the funding will be part of this, but we will come back with further details. I mean, the work plans are in preparation, so it's an early question, and I can answer it, but not yet today. But next to this, it's also very much focused on raising visibility for what we can do in sport policy, but how much more can be done when this is put together with other efforts to promote healthy lifestyles, rather than having a number of individual pieces where maybe you don't see the overview, but to bring together also the efforts in research, in food, in health policy, sport, and not just from European policymakers, but also joined up with private initiatives or those in member states to really give a strong signal that this is important, and that policy can help and underpin it. And then later on in the process, we will also see how we can move from the pledges and see how we can support concrete action by the exchange of ideas and also by funding projects. So this will all come. I would just say stay tuned and be patient.
Yeah, I was just going to say be patient, and we will hear in time. Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. I am aware, sorry, I'd also like to just say, I think that's really great. What a great start. I think that helped me to see and be reminded of that link from the high level European sport down through industry level, practitioner level, research level. I think that's a great start, and it gives us things to aim for. I know that some people will literally be aiming for the deadline of the 17th. So if you see people still working in the background, we'll let you off, as we know we've got a lot of work to do between now and then. We've got a fantastic session set up today. We don't have any health and safety announcements to make to tell you where your nearest exit is. I don't need to get you to prepare for a fire alarm, but I do need you all to be prepared to be impressed. And I genuinely mean that. Prepare yourself to be impressed today, because we've got an absolutely phenomenal style of webinar coming up from participants on the ground who have benefited from initiatives, industry perspectives, and examples of good practice. I think that I expect everybody to leave this session incredibly inspired, informed regarding fantastic opportunities, regarding the financial opportunities that exist for us all to draw down funding, as Flora has just mentioned, and to go away with a spring in your step to pursue the work that you're involved in. We're going to begin with a very interesting style of question and answer with Mike, Mary and Nathan, who are going to be telling us about some of their experiences recently. Thank you, Mike.
You'd think by now you'd remember to unmute yourself before you start to speak, but yet I managed to start to talk before I unmuted myself. A lot of people will know me, will know that I start to talk very easily, so that's kind of par for the course. The good news is that I'm not going to speak for a long time. I'm actually going to interview some of our participants, and it's a real privilege for me to interview people from here in Northern Ireland who have been participants in an outstanding programme to engage people with the natural environment through a project called All Out Trekking. So I'm hoping that both of them are on the line. I know that Mary Elaine is on the line. I haven't seen Nathan on the line yet, but hopefully Nathan is on the line. If not, we'll carry on with Mary Elaine. So Mary Elaine, would you just maybe like to introduce yourself, say hello to everyone, and tell us a little bit about yourself and what you currently are doing?
Hi everyone, my name is Mary Elaine McCavert. I'm a psychologist but also a PhD student, and I am currently here to talk about All Out Trekking, which is a program which allows people with disabilities to see what going outdoors on a bike is like. So
great. And Mary Elaine, I know that you have cerebral palsy. Could you maybe tell us a little bit about what that disability means to you in your daily life?
Yes, so for me, I have quadriplegic cerebral palsy, which means that it impacts all of my limbs. So it means that I use a powered wheelchair to get around. And so, like, usually that can mean you're somewhat limited in where you go. So it was lovely getting to go on these really cool, fast bikes and getting to explore forests and sort of off-road places that usually I wouldn't get the opportunity to explore.
Great, thanks. Is Nathan on the line? So Nathan, if you're there, could you say hello to everybody? I don't see him. I think we may have lost Nathan in the connection somewhere. So Mary Elaine, it's going to be over to you. Really, it's going to be a solo interview with you, but I know that you're more than capable of that. So, tell us a little bit about the first time you went to Gosford to try out the machines. It's in a place called Gosford Forest Park. How did you feel? Were you excited, nervous, or what was the sort of feelings that you had when you went?
Just completely excited. I love any sort of adrenaline type activities, and anything the sort of the unexpected, because I suppose sometimes when you have a disability, you sort of tailor your approach, or you think you mightn't be able to do things. So I turned up and I saw these really cool bikes, and the staff were wonderful and sort of talked me through how my disability would impact using the bikes, and everything was just so straightforward. And for me, because I only really have use of my right hand, it was wonderful because I could use the joystick to just go wherever I wanted and fly around. So yeah, it was brilliant.
And how easy have you found it to actually control the machines, you know, around the trails? And did you have any particular significant challenges in doing that?
I think as a powered wheelchair user, I had a kind of sneaky advantage because I use a joystick to move my wheelchair. So the joystick on the bike was just so easy for me. And it was just brilliantly sensitive, and sort of, so you're able to speed up or slow down as you wanted. And just, I am a wee bit of a speed demon, so it was well suited to me. I could just fly off wherever I wanted. So yeah.
Very good. I'm going to ask Benjamin maybe if he can put on some slides on the background. I don't know how that'll work, but Benjamin, if you're able to share the slides in the background, then we can have that running so that folk can see what the machines are like.
It would be a pleasure. I'm working on it. I'm struggling a bit with the technique, but you know how it is. Okay. I'm working.
No worries at all. So, Mary-Elaine, tell us, was there anything that you found particularly challenging about being on the trails, and how did you overcome those challenges?
Challenges, I suppose, was just kind of actually because I'm not used to going off-road or going off on cobbles or stones, or I kind of tend to avoid those because they're just not the most stable when you're in your wheelchair. So it was just kind of letting myself go to actually not be nervous about it and just to try those different terrains. So I think it was more like an internal nervous feeling rather than like a disability type thing.
Great. So I think I'm going to be able, I can start sharing the slides here. Actually, it's fine. So these are going to run in the background. Okay. So it'll let folks see the sort of thing that you've been, the sort of machines that you've been on. So they're not two-wheeled trikes. They're actually four-wheeled machines. How stable did you find these to go around the trails? You said you were a bit of a speed demon. Did you ever feel that you were going to fall over, or did you feel that you were in control?
No, not at all. I felt completely in control. So, and also whenever you initially go, you get about, I think it was an hour to 2 hours of training. So there's sort of a lovely familiarization process as well. So sort of any nerves that you do have kind of quickly go out the window.
And Mary-Elaine, one of the things I know that you mentioned, and also Nathan and others have mentioned to me, was the fact that you're able to participate with friends and family. Can you tell us about what that's really meant to you, to be able to participate on an equal footing with folk?
To be honest, I think of everything, that was my favorite part, because so often with inclusive activities, they're wonderful, but it's just for people that have a disability themselves. So often you don't get the opportunity to have fun or crack with your families, and you don't get the opportunity to explore different places with your families. And so it was just lovely to have this joint experience where there was no difference as such, and we were all just having fun together.
Great. Can you give us an insight into the sort of emotions that you gain from actually when you're out on the trails? What is it? How does it make you feel personally?
It's kind of like a sense of freedom, because there's nothing holding you back. You can just do whatever you want to. You don't have to worry about, is this going to work, or am I going to fit in, or am I going to be able to manage this? It's just, you're completely included and you're completely involved, and it's kind of freeing. Yeah, it's just lovely, really.
Great. And Marilyn, what would you say as a recommendation to others involved in this webinar? You know, is there a couple of key things that you would say, look, from a person who has a disability, who's had these opportunities, what would you say to us as people who are trying to develop opportunities for folk to get engaged in the outdoors? What would be your key message of how to engage people and what we should be doing?
First of all, I would just want to say thank you for taking the time and energy to think of how we could be more involved. It's really appreciated. Secondly, I would say probably just trying to figure out how you can best include people and maybe speak to disabled people who've used similar things before, just to get their feel for it or their opinion on it, and just even make the design process inclusive so that from the outset everything's made easy and simple so that everybody can have a go and everybody's involved.
Great. Well, what a great message to finish on. So thank you so much, Mary-Elaine, for being involved today. I don't know if Nathan ever got on the line or not. Apologies if he didn't, but you've held the fort really well, Mary-Elaine. So thank you so much. I'm going to hand back to Chris now and see if there's maybe a few questions, or if not, we'll move on to the next thing. So thanks very much.
Thank you both. That was fantastic and great to see as well, to see some of the kit, which has answered one of the questions that came up regarding what bikes or trikes were used. There's an answer in the chat if anybody's wanting the specific answer regarding the chairs that were used. They are Quadrix Access Touches. I've got a question for you both, if you don't mind. The trails at that centre, are they intentionally built for chair users, or were they already set up and then it was established that that was an appropriate venue?
So I'll maybe answer that. I don't know, Mary-Elaine, if you want to come back on anything like that. My understanding is that the trails were being developed as mountain bike trails specifically, but then there was an additionality to include the disability elements within it, to make them slightly broader and more accessible for all. So there was an initial proposal.
Mike.
Aye, go ahead, Aubrey.
My name's Aubrey. I'm from Disability Sport Northern Ireland. We run the project down at Gosford. So yeah, the people, as Mike said, the trails were had already been developed, but we were able to work with the park to maybe in some instances move some of the rocks, some of the fencing at the start or end of the trails to make them more suitable to the wider buggies that we use. And there's a couple of different types of buggies. We have terrain hoppers, which you maybe saw in the photographs, are the big bulkier ones. And we use those to take people around the walking trails, that trundle along at a walking pace. And then we have the Quadrix buggies, which Mary-Elaine was talking about. And we have two types. We have a standard one, Quadrix Watts, and then we have a joystick operated one, which is the Quadrix Access.
That's brilliant. I just noticed on one of the images that on one of the posts, it had the explanations that there's the walking path this way, cycle path that way, etc. And I just think that's great, because sometimes I feel there's no need to reinvent the wheel and create a specific environment for chair users, when actually a lot of the environment that we already have can be used. And then I think there's a potential there for people to be kind of advocates of access, to be able to start mapping and documenting publicly accessible areas, bridleways, footpaths, etc., that might already be suitable for a particular type of chair or trike, etc. So then we're kind of taking a look at what's already available, so then we can access those areas that already exist. And like you say, Aubrey, it might be a matter of, well, there's this 3 kilometre section and it's absolutely perfect apart from one block. Can we work with that landowner to move that block or shift it around or something to open up things? So then we're creating genuinely inclusive environments where everybody can access them, rather than creating custom spaces. So that's great to hear.
Yeah, all the trails in the park in Gosford are all green and blue mountain bike trails, and we can actually, I mean, there's dozens and dozens of trails in the park, and we can actually access 95% of them on the quadrics, 95% of the mountain bike trails, and we can access all the walking trails. So it's really opened up the possibilities for disabled people and to go along and take part with their friends and family.
Great. If anybody else in the audience has a question, please either just feel free to unmute yourself now and ask, or you can type your question in the chat box if you'd like. Mary, you mentioned about the inclusivity beyond those that use chairs at that venue. Could you tell me a little bit more about the impact that has? Because I have a particularly strong opinion about that families or carers, whoever may have attended with somebody who's using a chair, quite often are left on the sidelines watching somebody having a great time, when I think for something to be actively inclusive in the way this sounds to be, then everybody that turns up should be able to take part.
Yes, so like I said, anything I've done previously, so it has always been great, but it's always been by myself. So it's lovely because you get to meet other disabled people, but you kind of miss out on the shared experience. So I would go home and I'd be like, this was great. But the lovely thing about Gosford Park was they were with me, so we would turn around and laugh together, or like be like, oh, did you see that? And it was just so nice because it was shared memories, and it's just lovely too, knowing that it's something we can continue to do. And it was as well because I was on the bike with the joystick and they were on other bikes. It was so similar, the only difference was that I had a joystick, so it was just, I don't know, it was really humanizing. It was just really normalizing, and it was just lovely. Yeah.
Was it the case that you were the expert in that?
For once, yes. I was like, that's not how you do it. This is how you do it. So yeah, it was lovely. It was really nice.
And is that sometimes a bit of a rarity?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when it comes to physical things, yeah, definitely. You get so used to maybe going into the background a little. So it was just lovely. We were all on the same playing field, really.
Fantastic. That sounds like we've kicked off with another phenomenal example of an impactful project. I think the two key takeaway things for me there are regarding the co-design of either the physical equipment or the environment to be inclusive right from the outset of an idea, rather than creating something and announcing it that now it's ready. So we've designed this, so now chair users would like to come forward and do it. Let's get that in as early as possible. And that active inclusivity, if an event or a physical activity is inclusive, then yeah, let's try and involve all that are there. Does that sum that up well for you three?
Yep.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Yeah.
Great. Thanks very much. I skipped over a couple of things as we were trying to keep to times earlier on. I'd just like to mention to you about the breakout rooms that are going to occur after the next session. You have the opportunity to attend 2 of 3 talks in 2 sessions later on. Benjamin will facilitate the options coming up on screen, so you will be able to choose which room you go into to attend the talk of interest. Next up, we have a different perspective altogether, with a perspective from the industry. We've got Amanda from the North Face who's going to speak to us now. Amanda, are you there?
Hi.
Hello.
Hello, I am here. Good
Hi.
afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for making the time. We're aware that you've had some unexpected circumstances lately, but living in the real world, we're all very accustomed to adapting and moving forward with what we had planned. So here we are, and we'll allow you to take the floor now.
Thank you, and thank you for your introduction. I hope I can do it justice to the excitement that people are expecting me to bring. And yes, I do need to just apologise in advance. I'm English, but I live in Switzerland, obviously where the North Face is based, and I had to pop home for a family reason, and they delightfully changed the quarantine rules. So I am now quarantining in Switzerland with my 2 children, just over there. So sorry if they want to contribute, but they have very strong feelings on inclusivity. So they might come in and make some noise. They won't make much sense because they're toddlers, but still, please forgive me in advance. Okay, so I just wanted to start by saying thank you for inviting us to talk about this issue. It's extremely important to us at the North Face. My name is Calder-McLaren. I am the Senior Director of Brand for EMEA for the North Face. So thank you for having me. Today, I would like to talk to you about something that's very close to my heart, which is the Explore Fund. I'm actually the custodian of the Explore Fund for EMEA. Hopefully you guys have heard of it. If you haven't, I'll tell you a little bit about that. So let me just share my screen. This is where technology clearly fails me, but I'm going to try. Okay, I'm not going to do that. Can you see my screen conversation? The Explore Fund is basically our, I guess you could call it our CSR arm, but to us at the North Face, it's way more than that. It's actually been around for 10 years. Obviously, we're an American-bred company, but it came to EMEA a couple of years ago, and we run the Explore Fund in our German, UK, Italian and French markets now. And it's basically our way of making sure that we're supporting the community at large, and it runs 2 main streams. So one is about loving wild places. We have a huge stream of work when it comes to conservation. We are a founding partner of IOCA. I'm very proud to be, and we do all manner of work with them, something I can talk about if you want more information at a later date. The other arm of the Explore Fund is about creating community. And for that, that is about accessible for all. That's a huge, broad spectrum. It covers everything from disability inclusion to LGBTQ+ rights to making sure all marginalized communities are represented and able to access the outdoors. And our work in this area goes from everything from grant funding to making sure we have representation in our campaigns, to protagonists, to working with celebrities. It goes on and on. But I wanted to talk to you about a specific new project that falls under the Explore Fund today, which is the Explore Fund Council, which is about accelerating access for exploration. I'm hoping you may have seen it. If you haven't, this will tell you more about it. I won't spend much time on this because this group knows better than me all the barriers of entry to the outdoors. We all know the problems. We're all, I'm sure, passionate about rectifying them and about making sure that we can reverse some of the falling participation and making sure that everybody feels that the outdoors is for them. Not only that there is access, but also once there, that they are welcomed, that they have an enjoyable experience, and that they reap the benefits that us as outdoor lovers and enthusiasts benefit from probably daily. So specifically, we do have a problem, or as we can probably see from representation of this group, looking at all the people I can see, communities of colour are actually 3 times more likely to live in nature-deprived places. Traditional outdoor programs aren't relevant to everyone, and too many barriers are starting an outdoor exploration exist. This was actually born 4 years ago as a concept, so before the Black Lives Matter movement, but very much at the heart of the North Face. So we're very lucky. We have a huge breadth to our brand. As you know, we do have relevance in, I guess you could say, more urbanized environments. I hate the use of the word urban, but within city dense environments. So we do have a connection to certain communities that don't necessarily always access the outdoors in a more traditional sense. Therefore, the responsibility is on us to make sure that these communities also benefit from the other side of the brand, making sure that they feel that the mountains are for them. And once they own a piece of equipment from the North Face, funnily enough, a Nupsy, whilst it does look very vibey when you're hanging out in Paris, Berlin, or London, it's actually an incredibly functional item that, as most of you will know, was designed to help summit Lotsie. So anyway, or NUPSI, I should say. We also have a LOTSI. So introducing the Explore Fund Council, what it is it's a $7 million pledge. It's a 3-year commitment to a new initiative that will tap the next generation of explorers to create and celebrate culturally relevant access to exploration across the globe. And a proportion of that is from EMEA. So we are launching our version of the Explore Council in September. But we recently launched the American version. So the year-long initiative basically is about working with innovative people to make exploration possible to problem solve around an annual theme. Most of our efforts to increase exploration have not been culturally relevant to communities of colour. In 2021, our theme will work to create and celebrate access to explorations for those communities. Using the insights that we have developed through the Explore Fund Council, we're then going to use the Explore Fund Council to help identify and target organisations that work within this area, and we're going to fund them. So in America, we operate a grant funding system, so you can apply for funding. Anyone can apply in America. In EMEA, we have a different approach. So in EMEA, we basically work with select partners, which are made known to us via the council. But the opportunity is there. So the Explore Fund Council does 2 things. It's basically a group of people who've been selected because they are either leaders in their area, they have a connection to communities of colour, so they may potentially be an expert in diversity inclusion. They may potentially be somebody who has a huge following from marginalised communities. And the idea is that they are basically an innovation engine. So this council of diverse leaders guides the creation of scalable solutions to support the culturally relevant access. Then they basically meet, ideate, make recommendations, and then they share the solutions. So we host what we call summits with our council leaders. They are there for 2 reasons, basically. One is to hold the brand accountable. So we don't really fall foul of this, but for example, should we not have a Black athlete? That would have been something that they would raise to us as a problem. Or if we ran with a campaign and it was all white protagonists in our advertising, or all fully able-bodied people in our advertising, or 0 transgender people represented on our website, those are the kind of things that actually we need to be held accountable for as a brand. So we use this kind of steer group, you could call it, to hold us accountable and to educate the brand from an external point of view. We also have these measures internally. Obviously, we're a very large company. The second thing is it's their job as well to help choose and select the partners that we're going to fund based on the bids. So basically, people come to us with ideas and programs that need funding, and they help filter through and decide who the beneficiaries are of those grants. Our theme for this year is about resetting to create and celebrate culturally relevant exploration for underrepresented communities, with a specific sharp point on BIPOC. So it happened in October 2020. God, that seems ages ago now, but then obviously COVID scuppered us slightly. Elaine McCavert, don't know if you know her, I hope you do. She's a very famous comedian from America, a key member of the LGBTQ+ community, funny as, and very dynamic and engaging female. And Jimmy Chin, who I'm sure you all know, who probably doesn't need any introduction. They joined us as the first members of the Explore Fund Council, bringing their experience making change to help enact change in ours. Lena has actually been vital in resetting the entertainment industry to be more inclusive and to highlight marginalised voices. And Jimmy is a huge advocate for breaking barriers to reset adventure. I'm lucky enough to work with him and have met him a few times. And honestly, I'm still in awe of him, even when I meet him on a daily basis. Together, they, with 8 other American leaders, they're all up on the American website if you'd like to know all of their details. They come from the Hispanic communities as well as BIPOC. From different industries, they're going to come together to basically form the Explore Fund Council. We have now since announced the entire council, so that's all up there for you to go and take a look at if you'd like. Effectively, there's 3 outcomes, which is probably what this group is interested in, which is to understand the underlying causes that make exploration inaccessible. So we are doing a body of work that maps barriers and a deeper understanding of the cultural issues at play. I think on a more personal level, I sit on a couple of inclusion councils externally, and I think we've all got fed up of saying it's to do with finance, because that's not always the case. There are many affluent BIPOC families who are still not accessing the outdoors for one reason or another. And actually some of the new pieces of research, and I can't share them yet because they're not finalized, are basically to do with that. You can't be what you can't see. and the level of welcoming that the outdoors presents themselves. It is an incredibly white industry. It's incredibly kind of stoic industry, and they just don't feel welcome. They don't feel like it's for them. And obviously I realize I'm speaking on behalf of the BIPOC community here, so I just need to caveat that. Secondly, we want to learn from our perspectives, work and experiences of leaders. So we really want to listen as a brand, and make sure that we use those insights to help elevate the North Face as leaders in this space. We have to take responsibility for the fact that we've been around for 50 years. If the industry is dominatedly white, we've played a role in that because we've been one of the leaders for 50 years. So it's about time that we took responsibility and started to change that. And finally, to define our tactics method and the approaches in terms of how we actually increase equity in the outdoors. And that is actually about putting our money where our mouth is. So we are investing 7 million. That money has to do its job. So we need to get it to the people that need it the most. And that's with our grants and with our work. I'd just like to pause here for a moment. I can't see the chat, but if anyone has any questions, Chris, maybe help me out. And if anybody wants to say anything, feel free to jump in if anyone has questions on what I've shown so far.
We've not had any come in, but if anyone has got one now, please unmute yourself and feel free to ask.
We all good? Okay, great. Well, what I'd like to do then is just to kind of put this into context with a real life example, because I think that's probably going to be interesting to you guys. So since I started at the North Face 3 years ago, I formed a partnership with a charity called the Outward Bound Trust. I'm sure you guys know them. This is an English specific case study. And I just wanted to show you something where it started with a soft touch and how we're kind of trying to develop and grow the partnership to make real inroads and consistencies in a community. So we started working with the Outward Bound Trust 3 years ago. If I can just show a little quick video. How am I going to do this? Let's see if I can get it up. I'm going to share my desktop and see if you can see that. Can everyone see that one? Good. Okay, let me check sound working.
Before I arrived, I felt kind of anxious and scared of what we were going to do. I had a feeling that I wouldn't enjoy it because climbing up the mountains and being too tired.
I never thought I'd be able to live with other people by myself for 3 days.
I was like scared to meet new people and like scared that they might not get along with me. When we got into our groups, I figured out when I opened up to them, we actually got along really well together and I made new friends. I felt really happy that I got to spend time with my group and all of the instructors because it was like a really team bonding experience.
I feel like it makes it easier for everyone if we can all communicate well.
In the classroom, it's always be quiet, stop talking, listen. Over here, they taught us to talk and communicate better.
I think it was more easier to communicate outside because everyone needed each other's help to like climb the mountain.
You can't stop and you can't go back down the mountain. You just have to carry on. And I feel like that just made me like more resilient.
I overcame my fear of heights when we climbed up the mountain and we saw the waterfall.
Making new friends. Yeah, I think that's a goal I have achieved.
Be more positive and think better of myself. Think that I can achieve more.
It's been hard, but still I've learned that never give up. Always try your hardest because at the end you'll get there. Challenging.
Leadership. Thrills. Adventure.
So I hope that was just a little project that we actually did, and that was 3 years ago. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about that project. So let me share go back to my slides. Sorry, clearly I didn't have time to embed it. Quarantine. So that was our first project when we kicked off with the Outbound Trust She Moves Mountains. I think what was most meaningful for us is the fact that some of these girls had never even been out of London. had never even seen a mountain. On a personal level, I actually didn't see a mountain until I was 21. I was one of those inner city kids, and therefore I have a passion point about helping people from urban dense environments get outdoors, because it's changed my life. And the results were incredible. In fact, 3 of those girls have actually gone on to do PGCSE and train in climbing, which to me was a huge testament to this one trip, this one intervention. But other than that, we've now developed it and we've stayed with that school and with those girls, and it's been 3 years and we're continuing to work with them. We then evolved the project to have more of a diversity lens, and this was 2 years ago. Part of one of the barriers we found working with Outward Bound Trust was that there was a distinct lack of instructors that looked and sounded like they did. So actually, not only did they have the intimidation level of never even going to the outdoors and being away from home, but when they got there, they were confronted with people that felt completely unfamiliar to them and quite intimidating. So we then started a project to create instructors. So we started working with the Shadwell University, and it was effectively, it was called a Young Leaders Program, and we focused on investing in qualifying, I think it was roughly 14 to 20 young leaders to become outdoor instructors, and 75% went on to gain employment in the outdoors because of the program. It's still running today. We run it every year, and it's something I'm actually really keen to do more of. So if anyone in this group does anything to do with ski instructors and things like that from diverse backgrounds, I'm very open to hearing from you, because I have found that this has been one of the most impactful mechanics to activate and engage more diverse communities, because they're naturally connected and they're less intimidating. And then finally, it changed slightly this year because of the pandemic. So we actually found that we went back into the schools we were working with and they weren't able to get out and things like that. And actually, we found that there was a mental health issue going on with a lot of the young children we worked with, which was that they basically had anxiety. Fair enough, quite rightly, what an awful year we've all had. And so we just had to switch the program slightly to being a little bit more about a bit broader, to basically helping young people on a broader level cope with their anxiety. So this was actually about helping children from those urban dense environment. We also run the same program in something like Milan. So in Milan, which is close to us here, people weren't allowed to go outside at all. So there were young people who were locked inside buildings for 6 weeks. And it was quite frankly horrible for them. So our priority was, as soon as they could go outdoors, was to go and get those people who didn't have the means and help the young people to get outdoors. So we ran specific projects that went into schools, got young people who'd basically been caged for 6 weeks and take them out so that they could experience that as a priority. So that was how we changed. But effectively, you can see that how it's cascaded across the next 3 years. I can't yet share with you what's happening for 21 and 22, but it is super exciting. Once the Explore Fund Council is launched in EMEA, so keep your eyes out for it in September, there will be a mix of advocates, experts in diversity, as well as some famous faces across UK, Germany and Italy. No, sorry, France, not Italy, France. And from them we'll be rolling out and investing in broader projects. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Amanda. That's fantastic. Mike has asked a question. Mike, would you like to come on and ask it so that I don't misinterpret it?
Yeah, it was really just, you mentioned some research that you were either doing or have done. And I just wondered, is that based in the US? Is it global? Is it pan-European? And if it is global, are you seeing any differences between different countries or different areas? But maybe you're not that far on with the research yet. It was to see where it was that you were actually carrying out that research.
Of course. Well, actually, we have various different research streams that have been going for 4 years on this matter. The new piece of research is actually happening in America from the Explore Fund Council. However, I do have other pieces of work that we've had for the last 4 years that I can look into whether or not I can share with this group. But effectively, there are a lot of similarities. So the similarities are coming from the theme of feeling unwelcomed in the outdoors, the theme of feeling intimidated, the theme of feeling that when you go skiing, it's a very white, dense environment. And that is across the board. There's more divisive feedback coming from America. There is a slightly different culture in the Americas than there are in England, for example, slightly more aggressive tonality. So we do find that, sadly, there is actually an increased level of friction coming back from a lot of the things. I can tell you this because when we sometimes share things on our social channel, we actually sometimes have to shut down comments because of the animosity that we're receiving in America. In Europe, it's not landing in quite the same way. But we do still face that issue. And in fact, I can give you an example. Recently for Pride, we're working with 3 LGBTQ plus charities, Gays in Milan, Outdoor Lads in the UK, and a climbing charity in Germany. And we profiled some of them on our social accounts, and we actually sadly had to shut down comments, which just is just horrible. It's just a horrible place to be. But we are incredibly passionate about not caring about what they're doing, but also really, and this is part of the work that we're doing in diversity inclusion, but it really comes down to education. And if you start being combative back, what you do is create a more unwelcome environment for people who may be a bit different into the outdoors. It's more important that we take the people who own the outdoors and are the gatekeepers with us on a journey. So we really try not to be aggressive and say, like, you're just being ridiculous. You know, we don't try to shut them down. We try and actually engage in a conversation and say, you know, try and educate people on the barriers and empathy and things that matter, rather than trying to create friction. I hope I'm making sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
We have a question from Alves. He's asked, is the program in the US or is it in Europe too?
It's coming to Europe. Yeah, so currently it's only in the US right now, launched, but it's a global program. So the European arm of the Explore Fund Council is launching in September. However, the Explore Fund is global. So we already invest 6 figures minimum every year into charities in the UK, France, and Germany to do with inclusion and diversity and access.
Fantastic.
And all the information on this is on our website. So if you go to North Face and put in Explore Fund, you will get more information about programs that we fund and things like that. And if anyone has any information, you are so welcome to email me. And soon we will have a custodian of the Explore Fund for EMEA, and then there'll be more people to support.
I'm sure you'll have lots of people signing up to set alerts for information about the funding there. That's absolutely fantastic. Thanks very much.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers. Thank you so much for taking the time with everything that you've had going on as well, Amanda. We really appreciate it.
You're so welcome, and enjoy the rest of the webinar, everybody.
Joanna's just asked if we can share Amanda's email address. Amanda's given a big nod, so Mike can manage that one for us at the end of the session.
Of course, and just hit me up directly. Thanks so much for everybody's time.
Thanks, Amanda.
Bye. Take care.
We've put the web link for the Explore Fund into the chat as well.
So we've got another novel style of discussion coming up now that Margo is going to manage in a brainstorming session, considering about how we move forward with inclusion on outdoor sports. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Margo to manage the next half hour.
Yes, very happily. So we heard a lot about some great different examples of inclusive activities in the outdoors. And we just wanted to use this opportunity to get all your thoughts together on a nice brainstorming board, because I think everybody has their own reflection as to what's the must-dos and what maybe we should stop doing if we want to become more inclusive. So I put together this ID board. There's a link now in the chat which you can follow. I will also share my screen so you can follow what's coming up on the screen also here. But if you want to contribute, you will have to follow the link. If you click on the green plus button next to each of the sections, you can add a sticky note, and you can also give other people's sticky notes a thumbs up if you click on it. I put some instructions on the board already as well, so you can just go in there and start sharing your ideas. I'll just, yeah, I think you can see that now as well on the screen, right? So I created 6 different sections in terms of what we should keep doing, what we should start doing, and what maybe we should stop doing in terms of having more inclusive practices in the outdoors. Maybe what we should do less of, more of, and if you have any specific action items that you think this is something that's actionable immediately, then we can put that next to it as well. So you can see, you can also, if you click on the note, you can add little thumbs up. So if you see something that's already there that you wanted to write as well, then you can just give it a thumbs up immediately. So I already see on the keep doing, creating and maintaining outdoor programs. And then on the more of active inclusivity, so no more family members and carers watching from the sidelines. So that's a really good one as well. Then with the start doing, make sure there are pathways to longevity for participants where possible. I think it's nice indeed to have an activity not just being a one-time thing. So now we're really seeing a lot of ideas popping up, so that's great. So I'll keep you, I'll let you do the work there. And we'll keep this open for about 15 minutes. But we'll also keep the whole brainstorming exercise open until this evening. So if after the session you still come up with a couple of things and you want to add them in, then please feel free to do so. We'll close it this evening so that we can send it together to all of you together with the report of the meeting. So you all have the different ideas that came up on the board there as well, which could be a great introduction, maybe to start some inclusive practices in your organization. So we have a great team of people here. It does not often happen that you have this kind of group together to do some brainstorming for an upcoming project. So make use of it, share your ideas, and then we'll pull everything together in the end. I see some really nice things coming up here as well. We're shying away from the negatives. That's good. Stop doing, less of. There's not a lot of ideas there yet. But I can see here, so we have these pathways for longevity, then engaging people with additional needs in instructor coach training. Make sure that we include family and friends in programs rather than just people with a disability. More inclusive images, share ideas, involve the local community in planning inclusive outdoor activities and coordinate different interests. I see here that we need to enable participation, and we need to ask people what the outdoors actually means to them and how they want to use it, and being okay with that. So dedicated training for people who are often excluded as coaches and instructors, truly inclusive activities, people with and without disability meeting at an eye level. And on the keep doing, I see focusing on individuals and what they can do rather than what they can't. All right, got some thumbs up coming up as well. See a less of, well, we need to stop separating groups for people with different kinds of disabilities. So let's try to create a good mix, and less adapting the environment to make it adapted, but then less natural, and really try to see what we can do with adapted equipment and training. See here also less imagery on promotional materials of the perfect people, but we really need to showcase real people in the outdoors. An action item then, that's always interesting, to share knowledge, what has worked, what didn't work, how can a process experience be applied elsewhere. I think we are making a great start here. We have some best practice examples, and as far as I'm aware, we will also share some best practice sheets on the different projects that were presented here today after the event. So we'll be able to take a look at exactly what they were doing. I see also less one-time activities, but long-term program. We heard definitely in our session also on climbing that there is definitely some challenges to keep these kind of things affordable. So I think we need to find ways to do that and to ensure that we can really create clubs that keep going. See more of adaptive equipment for outdoor activities and more transferable experiences. All right, great work. This is becoming a really nice board. Keep having conversations on the keep doing directly with those who want to be included and ask them what they want. I think that's something that comes back over and over again. It's the co-designing aspect and minimizing the threshold to get started. So really try to approach this inclusivity as a process. Then an action item as well is around funding opportunities for sustainability of inclusive initiatives, and to not always expect new projects, but to support up and running programs as well. Very good. Right, we have about 5 minutes left to get some more ideas on the board. There's nothing that we should stop doing. Surprised about that. Let's see any new ideas pop up. I'll just pick out now also the ideas that we saw. That's a good one. Stop excluding people. Okay, I like that. I was asking for that one. All right, so I'll just go over the ideas that got the most votes until now, so we can focusing on individuals and what they can do rather than what they can't do. I think that's a really nice one under the keep doing. To start doing, we have a big note here on the inclusion also of family and friends in the program. So ensure that we have programs that are really, really accessible to all, and ensure also that there's more inclusive images from all sports. We should stop excluding participants and then less of separating groups for people with different kinds of disabilities. So really try to see if we can get a good mix. And then imagery and promotional materials of the perfect people. We should stop that too. More of, I see active inclusivity. So again, towards family members and carers, and try to not have them watch from the sidelines, and to organize truly inclusive activities, including people with and without disabilities. So we come back to a couple of the same items and trying to see how we can make them work. Sharing knowledge is of course key in this, because there are lots of great initiatives, but there are also lots of places where it seems to be really hard to get those kind of things started. And then of course also around funding opportunities to ensure the sustainability of inclusive initiatives. I think if you, I think this is coming together really nicely. As I said, we will keep this open afterwards. So if you still want to add some ideas, if you come up with something directly after this, this little session, then please go ahead and just put it on the board. We'll close the board this evening, and then we'll send it to all of you via email. I think I can then pass the floor back to Chris to start the next piece of this program.
Sure, yeah, we aren't due to do that for another 8 minutes. So
okay, sorry. I was
that's
too
all
quick.
right. That's fine. I'm going to encourage everybody to move to either standing outside for a moment, or being outside for a moment, or being out to being able to view out of a window, and just get everybody to look at something that's more than 2 feet away from their eyes for a moment, if possible. So if you are able and willing to do that, then I'd like to encourage you to do that for 3 or 4 minutes before coming back, no later than 10 to, and then we'll hear from Arne. Arne, are you there hiding in the audience?
Oh, all my talking, that did nothing. I was muted. Yeah. Hi, Chris. I'm here. I was just muted.
Hi. Cool. Yeah, just wanted to make sure that you were sat there and primed, ready to go in a couple of moments. Yeah, thanks everyone. I hope that you are okay with me suggesting that people try to move outside or close to a window.
Absolutely. I have unfortunately been moving outside all day because I'm moving house at the moment. So
right.
This was the only spot I could find that's not filled with boxes or being a total mess. So this is my kitchen floor. And
right.
Sorry for the view. I hope it's acceptable, but this is just the situation as it is right now. Trying to move house in a pandemic restricted time. That's a bit weird, but yeah, getting there. I hope I can
no problem. We're
visible. Yeah,
happy to just deal with what's in front of us. We've had a lovely message come through from Rizzo. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. Very happy to have discovered ENOS just a couple of weeks ago and being able to learn from European experiences with help of technology. We are a new provincial outdoor network of non-for-profits based in Quebec and Canada, and we need to work more and more on inclusion and accessibility. Thank you. We're very pleased to have you. I myself are relatively new to working with ENOS. I've worked with colleagues on the benefit of outdoor sport for society project that began a couple of years ago. And yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. It's fantastic to hear about aspects of outdoor sport at all levels. I think that's the thing that really strikes me, and the actions are taken. And so many times you attend conferences or webinars and things are said, people go away feeling potentially motivated individually, but all the experiences I've had with ENOS are things like what Margot's just done there in that last half hour, is to create understanding and shared proposed actions. And yes, you can join in with us being in the afternoon, with you being over in Canada. Great, glad to have you with us. Moving on next then, I'm going to introduce Arne Strate, who's going to tell us about a very exciting launch of an R&D project regarding the practical equipment that we require for outdoor sport. Arne, over to you.
Hey, thank you very much, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. I hope you can hear me. And I'm just trying to work out which screen I'm sharing at the moment. I'm not even sure which is which here. What happened? Oh no, where is everybody? Well, it doesn't matter. In case you can, I hope you can all hear me and see me. I'll try to be very short and succinct. I just want. Oh, now there it is. Okay, I can see now. Perfect.
I can still see you.
Great. All right. My name is Arne Strate. I'm General Secretary for the European Outdoor Group, which is the industry association for the outdoor sector doing business in Europe. And I'd like to start with a very, very open. Well, I'd like to just keep it very open and transparent. We are in the business of selling outdoor equipment to everybody who needs it for their adventures outdoors. And I'd like to be very open about this, because we do it for a living and we've gotten quite good at it over the years. But before that come a lot of other things. And I mean what I say when I say in chronological order. It starts with intact nature. That's basically the foundation of our business, is intact nature and active citizens. Intact nature, active citizens, and only after that can an outdoor industry even exist. So let me just be very clear about this. And on top of that, outdoor activity has such a huge part to contribute to all the problems or all the issues that we're running into through modern life and in our modern societies. If it were to be pressed in a pill, if outdoor activity if it was possible to put all of that in a pill, I think it would be the wonder drug of the 21st century. It would absolutely blow everything else out of the water. And that is also the reason why inclusivity is an absolute must here. It is not something that we keep to ourselves. It's something that we like to share. And it's a right for everybody to be outdoors and a right for everybody to experience outdoor activity. If yeah, that's basically it. It is definitely a right for everybody. And to be very inclusive with this is high on the agenda for us as well. So coming out of the Euromeet in 2019, and a lot of chats with Enos and Mike McClure, of course, and Benjamin, who were leading this, we have agreed on launching a co-design competition, basically, to make outdoor equipment, to create outdoor equipment that's more geared towards inclusivity in general. This is really important because it does not get the attention that it requires and that it deserves at this point. So what we came up with is an outdoor award. It will be an award that is independent, because obviously Enos has done the most work on this so far, but we were going to use our platforms that we have in our trade show platforms to bring this, to shed more light on the subject. And also at the same time, we will be asking our member brands to come up with suggestions, designs, anything that makes outdoor equipment more, that helps to create pieces of equipment that make outdoor activity more accessible for everybody. Can you switch over to the next slide, please? Yeah, so the potential categories are apparel, water sports equipment. You can see it all here. It basically entails everything that the outdoor industry already manufactures products for. So we're really looking forward to this. And yeah, a multi-use of the designs is also foreseen. So it should not just be something that promotes inclusiveness, but also something that you can just use in your on a general day out. The timeline for this is very ambitious, but I think we're still well ahead of everything. So there is an expression of interest. That's 30th of July. We would need to know by then whether somebody wants to contribute. Then we've got until the 10th of December for more details, demo kit, prototype designs to arrive. And then we will announce the awards as part of the program on stage at Outdoor by ISPO, which is going to be from the October 5th to 7th this year. And I really hope we will see a lot of great designs that simply allow everybody to experience what we already know, that is really great out there. And this is, I think, a big step forward, especially by tying the industry into this whole thing. That's it from my side so far. I hope I haven't used up too much time. And by the way, I'm just moving house, so it looks a little bit like a mess in the background. This is the only room that I could really show you without showing you the mess that this house is in right now. I hope that works. Okay, yeah, that's all from my side so far. Thanks for the great afternoon.
Brilliant, thank you, Arne. And have you got the details of where we can be reminded of those milestone dates? Yes, is it on the EOG website?
We will put them on the EOG website as soon as we can. I think it will also be then also seen as part of the program at Outdoor by ISPO in October through the ISPO website, but it will definitely be on the EOG website first. That should be in the next following days.
Brilliant. I think something that I'll add to Margot's brainstorming sheet is around the use of language. And the use of language and equipment regarding accessible and inclusive outdoor sport, I think, is something that can be developed, and there are cases of good practice. Arne mentioned there equipment that makes outdoor activity more accessible. I think that there's a fantastic difference between that sentence versus adaptive equipment or even inclusive equipment, because if I and my friend who uses a chair want to go skiing, we both need to go to our garage and get some kit to be able to go and do that activity. So I think the use of language can be really impactful for participants of outdoor activity, and to try to destigmatize, but I'm not sure if that's too heavy of a phrase to use around a language of equipment, that to participate in outdoor sports, a lot of outdoor sports, everybody needs some equipment.
Exactly.
Ben might need to go get his sit ski. I might need to go get my upright skis, etc. And I just think that's something that might be worth adding onto that board for future consideration as well.
Absolutely right. Your what you need to be able to go outdoors is very individual. That has always been the case. But in the end, outdoors, everyone is equal at the same time. If it rains, then everybody's getting wet. If there's a thunderstorm, it's the same for everybody. Yet people have individual needs, and we're more than happy to try and cater for these needs, whether it's climate related, whether it's related to your own level of ability or fitness, whatever it is. I think that all fits under the very same umbrella. So for me, there wouldn't be the need to further carve out a special niche for this. It's just part of the program, really. It's a special part of the program, yes, and something that does not get enough attention and enough attention at the moment. It's definitely something we should build out. I think that's along the lines why we strive outdoors, why we go outdoors. It's because it kind of equalizes things. Everybody's the same outdoors, and then that goes beyond what we see as traditional outdoor, and even the access to it. You don't have more rights to have access because you've been doing something for 20 years. It's this exact same rights for everybody. If you have been out there for 20 years, you should know how to behave. There's less of an excuse for you if you leave any trash behind. But other than that, it's everybody needs to respect the same rules. Everybody's exposed to the same elements. Everybody should be able to get equipment that makes things according to their personal preference or abilities, that makes the outdoors more accessible and safer.
I think it stems back to some points that have been made already regarding active inclusivity and not tokenistic inclusivity attempts. I'd like to just make a few closing remarks about things that have really stood out for me in the last couple of hours before I thank you all for attending and say goodbye. One of which has been around a comment regarding the benefits for all involved. And we mentioned about carers and family members, etc., but also thinking about those that are involved in the design, the development and the delivery of either interventions or experiences. And the way in which that itself can be a driver to push forward and take the time to apply for that funding or to organise that event. Because the benefits are broader than the intended initial beneficiaries themselves. And it was spoken that some of these experiences and interventions have been an absolute saviour for those that are delivering them or designing them themselves during a year that has restricted our movements and our ability to participate in a way that's never really been seen before. I hope that can continue to be a driver for people to develop inclusive experiences for the shared benefit that everybody has, whoever is involved. I was also really, really pleased to hear from Flora at the beginning, and just a reminder there that the three core aspects of financial support that can be drawn down from Erasmus Plus revolve around digitalization, the aspects of green environments, and inclusion, with that sort of additional satellite aspect of active lifestyles. The idea of transfer has been mentioned a number of times in a number of different ways. The idea of not just providing experiences, but transferable experiences to the aspects of other people's of everyone's lives involved. Amanda from the North Face encouraged people to explore, and this idea of exploration may conjure up images of far-flung peaks and poles, but that can be from our doorstep, and we should absolutely encourage people to begin with that first movement from wherever we are inside our house to the doorstep, because that is the first movement that gets us to those wilder places. That was also one of the most voted post-it notes on Margot's chart about not creating isolated experiences for beneficiaries. The design of interventions and experiences or equipment, in fact, and engaging with individuals as early as possible. And I'd just like to remind everybody that the beneficiaries or the participants that you wish to serve are experts that can be added to the team, and not just entirely the end users. I'd like to thank everybody who's spoken today and everybody that has attended. Thank you very much for the kind comments about ENOS. I echo them entirely. I think it's a fantastic organisation that has got some very exciting things to come. Thank you all for attending, and thanks for the little virtual rounds of applause that have been coming in as well.
Thanks everybody, and a big thanks to Chris for facilitating this. It was really good, so well done. Thank you guys.